Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel, where we explore the most beautiful and enchanting stories from around the world. Today, we re-journeying to Vietnam to discover a heartwarming fairy tale that teaches us about the true nature of wealth and kindness. So, grab a warm drink, get comfortable, and let's dive into the story of the Magic Teapot. Once upon a time, nestled in a small, bustling Vietnamese village, there lived an old man named Lam. Now, Lam wasn't rich in coin or land. In fact, he was quite poor. But what he lacked in material possessions, he more than made up for with a heart full of kindness. His days were spent at the local market, where his skilled hands brought old, broken pots and kettles back to life. It was a simple trade, just enough to earn a little money for his daily meal, but Lam was content. One sweltering afternoon, as Lam was making his way home along a dusty path, his eyes fell upon something lying by the roadside. It was an old teapot, covered in rust and grime. It looked forgotten and completely useless, something most people would simply walk past without a second glance. But Lam wasn't most people. He looked at the discarded teapot and felt a strange sense of pity for it. He couldn't just leave it there. So he picked it up, cradled it gently in his arms, and decided to bring it home. Back in his humble hut, Lam set to work. With a soft cloth and a lot of patience, he carefully cleaned the teapot. He scrubbed away the layers of dirt and polished the rusty surface until it began to gleam faintly in the soft light of his home. It wasn't perfect, but it was clean and loved. He placed it with a sense of pride on his small, simple shelf, giving it a new home among his few belongings. He felt a quiet satisfaction, happy to have saved this small object from being lost forever. That night, as the village fell silent and the moon cast long shadows, Lam was fast asleep. Suddenly, a soft tinkling sound woke him up. It was a strange, magical sound, unlike anything he had ever heard before. It seemed to be coming from the corner where he'd placed the old teapot. Confused and a little startled, Lam sat up and rubbed his eyes. He slowly got out of bed and crept closer to the shelf. What he saw next made him gasp in astonishment. Right there, stepping out of the spout of the teapot, was a tiny, shimmering creature. It glowed with a gentle, ethereal light, illuminating the small room. It was a teapot spirit, small and delicate, with kind, sparkling eyes. The spirit floated down from the shelf, landed gracefully on the floor, and bowed deeply to the bewildered old man. In a voice that sounded like tiny bells chiming, the spirit spoke. "Kind old man," it said, "you have saved me. For many long years, I was trapped inside this teapot, forgotten and alone. Your kindness has set me free. To show my eternal gratitude, I will grant you anything you wish." Lam stood there, completely stunned. He had never seen magic before, let alone been offered a wish by a spirit. He could have asked for a palace, for mountains of gold, or for eternal youth. But Lam was a humble man. He thought for a moment about his life, his daily struggles, and his simple needs. He then looked at the spirit and said in a soft, respectful voice, "I do not need great riches or power. I have only one simple wish, to have enough rice and food so that I and others never have to go hungry again." The spirit's eyes lit up with a warm smile. It was pleased by the old man's selfless and humble heart. "Your wish is granted," the spirit declared, and with that it gracefully floated back into the teapot. From that day forward, Lamb's life was transformed. The old rusty teapot he had rescued was now truly magical. The magic was simple, yet profound. Whenever Lamb was hungry, he would take the teapot, pour a little water into it, and tip it over his bowl. Instead of water, out would pour a stream of fluffy, hot rice. And if he wished for something more, he would tip it again, and a delicious, savory soup, rich with vegetables, would fill a second bowl. Lamb never went hungry again. His life was filled with a quiet, joyful abundance he had never known, but his kind heart remained unchanged. News of the magical teapot, however, couldn't stay a secret forever in a small village. Whispers of the old man who was never hungry began to spread. Soon, the story reached the ears of a wealthy, greedy landlord who lived in a large house at the edge of the village. This man had everything he could ever want, yet his heart was always empty and his desire for more was insatiable. Intrigued and consumed by envy, he decided he had to have this magical object for himself. One day, the greedy man paid a visit to Lamb's small hut. He put on a fake, friendly smile and said, "Old man, I have heard stories about your wonderful teapot. It is a remarkable thing. I will give you 100 silver coins for it. Imagine what you could do with all that money." But Lamb simply shook his head and smiled gently. "Thank you for the generous offer," he replied, "but this teapot is not for sale. It is more than just an object to me. It is my friend." The rich man's face soured, but he left without another word, his mind already plotting. He waited for the right moment. Knowing that Lamb would be at the market, the greedy man snuck into the old man's hut. His eyes immediately fell upon the teapot, sitting peacefully on the shelf. With trembling, eager hands, he snatched it and hurried back to his grand house, his heart pounding with excitement and greed. He locked the doors, imagining the endless feasts he would have. He grabbed his largest, most ornate bowl and, just as he'd heard, poured water into the teapot. "Give me rice. The best rice in the world," he commanded, tipping it over. But what came out was not rice. Instead, a thick black cloud of smoke billowed out of the spout, filling the entire room with a foul smell. The greedy man coughed and stumbled back, his eyes watering. And then, from within the smoke, came a terrible skittering sound. Hundreds of angry mice with glowing red eyes poured out of the teapot. They swarmed across the floor and leaped onto the terrified man, biting his hands, his feet, and his fine silk clothes. He shrieked in pain and terror, swatting at them frantically. The magic had turned against his greed. Screaming and covered in bites, the man ran out of his house as fast as he could. He didn't stop until he reached Lamb's hut, the stolen teapot still clutched in his trembling hands. He threw himself at Lamb's feet, returned the teapot, and begged for forgiveness, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry. I was foolish and greedy. Please forgive me," he cried. Lamb, seeing the man's genuine remorse and terror, felt pity. With his usual kindness, he forgave him completely. The man, humbled and changed by the terrifying experience, returned to his home a wiser person. From that day on, Lamb realized the teapot's magic was meant to be shared. He used it not just for himself, but to help all the poor and hungry people in his village. Every day a line would form outside his hut, and every day Lamb would happily provide everyone with hot rice and warm soup. His small home became a beacon of hope and generosity. Years passed, and Lamb grew old and frail, but his spirit remained as kind as ever. One evening, as he sat quietly by his table, the teapot began to glow once more. The spirit appeared before him, its light softer and more peaceful than before. "Lamb," the spirit said, its voice filled with affection, "you have used my gift with boundless kindness and a pure heart. You have shared your blessings with everyone. My time here is done. It is time for me to return to the heavens." With a final warm smile, the spirit vanished in a cascade of soft, golden light. As the light faded, the old rusty teapot on the table transformed. Before Lamb's very eyes, it turned into an object of pure, solid gold, shining with a brilliant, warm radiance that filled the entire room. It no longer produced food, but it stood as a beautiful, everlasting reminder of the story that everyone in the village would tell for generations. To come a reminder that the greatest magic of all is kindness, and that true miracles are born from a generous heart. And that's the story of the Magic Teapot. A beautiful tale that shows us that what we do with our gifts is far more important than the gifts themselves. Kindness truly is a treasure that shines brighter than any gold. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more enchanting tales from around the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay kind and stay curious. Bye for now.